Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and for folks who are watching online, we do have a quorum, even though there are only 3 board members here in person. We have 3 board members online, and possibly 1 or 2 more will be joining. But we're set to go. We have a quorum, and I will entertain a motion for approval of the January 4th, 2023 minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Mark and seconded by Katina. Is there any comments? Changes? Hearing or seeing nothing. All those in favor of the January 4th minutes, please indicate by raising your hands. And there might be an abstention over there with you, Alicia, since you were absent that day? Yeah, so you abstain? Okay, thanks. Okay, the minutes were approved, and now we're on to public comment. Is there anybody who wants to speak during public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I guess we'll move on. Board chairs report. I don't really have anything new to report since we met a few weeks ago. We're plugging along on the budget, and that's about it for now. That's the main thing. So we're on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. Well, the first thing on my report is just to give everyone an update that we are in the process of gathering all the data we need to develop the budget. We are currently on time, in the process of finishing up all of our department and school meetings. And as usual, our plan is to present to the board a formal budget document, budget book. So far, so good. We are on target. So I don't know if there's any questions specific to the budget at this point, or if you'll just wait till we get to that point that it's presented.
Can you just remind the public and the committee about when we'll be having our first discussion about the budget?
That is a great question, and I need the calendar. Is it here? I know there's a date in February. She's going to look it up. I don't. The first special board meeting. I know she's got to pull up the calendar. I'm so sorry. I should have brought it with me.
I'm just looking it up, see if I can find it. For some reason.
So that she said Finance and Audit meets on February 1st. Okay, and the first budget meeting for the board is February 22nd.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And so that will be a special meeting because that's not a regular meeting date for the board. So I want to make sure all the board members have that on their calendar. Thank you. Any questions on this from the board? Okay.
Next on my report is just an acknowledgement of a coat donation that our Family and Community Engagement Department recently made. They were adult-sized coats, and they were donated to the American Legion, and we got a nice handwritten thank you letter. So we just wanted to shout out to the Family and Community Engagement Department. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Always nice. We then wanted to let the board know and the community know that Barrows has received a $5,000 grant from the Connecticut Department of Agriculture. It is a grant designed to enhance the farm-to-school programs. And I don't know if you have any specific questions, but we just learned about this last week.
Very exciting, and please make sure that the school knows that the Board of Ed is very proud of them.
Absolutely, we'll do that, and they may be coming to a future board meeting, the Barrow STEM Academy, because we learned yesterday that they're going to be receiving a special recognition as a STEM School of Excellence. So I need to get more information about it, but we were just notified of it yesterday afternoon, so I'll have them come to one of the future board meetings where we can formally recognize the staff. So a shout out to Barrow students, families, and staff.
Thank you.
Okay, Windham High Schools. The board members know Windham High School is in the final year of the Commissioners Network. We learned early last week that the Commissioners Network did a data analysis of all the schools, I should say the state did a data analysis of all the schools in the Commissioners Network and learned that Windham High School has the highest accountability index of all the schools identified as Commissioners Network schools and is the only school on the list not identified as a focus or turnaround school. So that's a really big deal in terms of our work to improve performance across the district, but to improve the reputation and performance at the high school. It's sort of helping us crawl out of that hole. My goal is for the whole district to not have to rely on state oversight. So we're proud of Windham High School and all the work they've been doing in the teaching and learning department to turn it around and move that accountability index. And tonight's discussion topic is all about the accountability index, so hopefully you'll see some other promising pieces of data in terms of our performance at this point. So congratulations to Windham High School students, families, and staff.
That's really great news. I see, Mary, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, it's a question. So I'm just wondering, there's like a funding implication about being in the Commissioners Network. So what will that impact be?
I feel like you should come to one of our budget meetings. It's one of the things we've been having lots of discussions about. So it is the final year of the Commissioners Network, which means the money associated with that grant disappears. We have other grants that are also disappearing, and everyone knows that COVID disappears in about a year and a half. So we are constantly having those discussions about what can we do as a district to prepare for that, you know, the movement of funds away from what we're doing. I can't give you specifics right now, but I can tell you it's one of the main discussions we've been having about how we can benefit from these grants. We have already benefited from the grants and tried to make purchases that will be sustained over time, but it's definitely on our radar. So I can't give you the specifics yet, but I know that they'll be coming when we develop the budget more formally.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I mean, I know this has been, and these types of programs, Commissioners Network, you know, have been around for at least a decade. And initially, a lot of the funding came with this notion that it would supplement, not supplant, and that districts would see the positive effects and give the additional funding, you know, like that would be built into the budget. So I mean, I do think that that is an issue that this district needs to confront, that the money shouldn't be going away. So it needs to be in the budget, and it may be that, you know, things have to happen, that, you know, the school can't continuously have zero increases, et cetera.
So, Mary, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that just because we're out of a network or off of a watch list or whatever, that doesn't mean that this town should let up on the investment in the schools if we expect people to have the resources they need to make sure our students can succeed. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I mean, that was the philosophy. That the town would see that the extra funding was needed and would have budgets that were more in line with what the schools needed.
Right, and that we shouldn't have to be put into a network in order to get the resources we need. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood you.
Historically, we know that we've, as a district, asked for increases to support students. We haven't always gotten them, but I think we're in a better place now in terms of our communication and relationship with the town. But I agree. It would be wonderful if all the grants that we received that we knew were disappearing could be funded. That would be wonderful. It hasn't happened, but it would be a great thing for our students if it did. Any other questions?
I just want to make sure, Brendan, Katina, and Mark, if you have questions, you might need to speak up because I won't always see your little hand on the screen, okay? Thank you.
Mark just waved.
Mark waved his big hand to me, thank you.
Okay, there it is. Okay, Windham Middle School, we've been doing biweekly updates. We are trending in a positive direction in terms of their student attendance and in terms of their discipline numbers, so we're happy about that. All of our schools are currently in the midst of the iReady benchmark, our K-8 schools anyway. So we'll have some winter benchmark data to share at the mid-year review. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the accountability index, which ties into just monitoring progress across all of our schools. Windham Middle School is planning to make some changes to the master schedule. We did learn in the last day or two a few little bumps in the road with getting that schedule uploaded into eSchool. We have a meeting tomorrow morning to make some decisions about the transition of the schedule. I'll keep the board updated. I won't know anything until I have that meeting. Actually, I'm sending Neil to that meeting. So he'll be reporting back to me, and then I'll keep the board apprised. The next middle school's school improvement meeting is scheduled for February 14th. So if you feel like spending your Valentine's Day, it will be an in-person or virtual meeting. You can join in.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Mary?
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a school improvement meeting on January 9th. It was in my calendar because I went to the last one, and I never heard anything, and I don't know if I missed it or if it just didn't take place.
I'm going to need to look into that.
And also, I am happy about, improvements in the achievement, but, 2.16%, statisticians have a kind of, it's a truism or something, or a fact about statistics where like 3% or under, it doesn't really, it could be relevant or not, so.
No, I totally hear you on the statistics piece. In this case, 2.16% equals how many students, Neil? He's my resident said. No, for just Windham Middle School. So thinking about that, we have 12 more students who are coming to school on time that weren't last year. That's a win for us, but I know what you're saying.
Although, are they coming by 11? Again, when we talked about the school improvement, and the principal, Della Barrera, said sometimes the students are, if they come by 11, they're counted as present, but they could be. So I just want to, I was going to ask some follow-up when we did have the subsequent school improvement meetings, because we wouldn't want some student who never can't get up in the morning, coming late every day, but being counted, so things like that. So I just want to make sure that, it's a meaningful improvement.
Okay.
I would say that the intent of everybody involved is for there always to be meaningful improvement. I think also we wouldn't want them to give us inflated numbers just so they look better. So this is what we're dealing with. The next meeting will be on the whatever, the 2nd or whatever you said.
The school improvement meeting for the middle school is February 14th.
On February 14th,
Right.
on Valentine's Day. So we'll hear more after that.
Yes, you will, absolutely. And the last thing I'm going to report is just the our attendance and discipline report to the board. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions, but we've given you information about the last couple weeks, as well as a comparison year to year, and a comparison from the beginning of the year to January 5th. So,
Mary?
I'm just wondering if, I recall correctly, are there 2 additional expulsions for the high school? I thought last time there were 6, but I don't remember when we last got numbers.
I can check the data to verify.
Any other comments or questions on anything the superintendent has reported on? Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I'm looking at the report. What is the, do we know why Burroughs has jumped up so high with those numbers? I'm looking at the green grid where Burroughs has 355 number of incidents, which is 100 more than the middle school.
So number of incidents is the tracking of the actual referrals written, and we were actually trying to get everyone on the same page around this. Some schools are writing referrals for different reasons than other schools. It's one of the things we worked on as a leadership team this summer. We continue to have discussions around on our discipline committee on the leadership level. So it has to do with what they're recording for discipline issues. So right now we're not in a place where I can tell you that you can compare those numbers.
So,
I see their ISS and their OSS numbers are lower than the middle school, even though their incidents are over 100 higher.
Right, so they may write a discipline referral but respond in a different way. We're trying to get everyone on the same page to have similar responses.
so that we can compare apples to apples.
All right, so when do you anticipate people responding on the same page?
So we have made some progress, and at least they're understanding that we're moving forward in that direction. It's going to take time to make the change. But I'll make sure that the principals know that the board has asked the question at my leadership meeting on Friday.
And that we have an expectation that they will get in line on what the agreed upon criteria are. Please. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, but I'm definitely going to let them know that it's something the board's interested in getting more information on and being able to compare apples to apples.
Well, yeah, because it makes it hard to look at these reports and discern much, so. Mark, I'm sorry, I cut in on this line of questions. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on anything that the superintendent brought up from the board? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item is committee reports. We have 2 committees reporting this evening. First is curriculum. Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, that's me. We met, oh shoot, I think it was January 11th, I think. I typed it, but I just brought my notes here handwritten. We had a special guest, Tanya Fleeting, who discussed the federal grant-funded social and emotional learning programs that have been going on for a few years in the district. And she gave us a slide presentation and talked about the goals of social and emotional learning, which are self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and there was quite a bit of detail involved in her report, which may or may not be available somewhere. Her slides, they may be her slides, so I will try to write up the minutes of the meeting with more specifics. All the schools in the district use some type of social and emotional learning curriculum, as I said, for the last few years, funded by this grant, and there have been some very positive effects, and that was very nice to hear. There are also programs for more serious issues and some suicide prevention presentations. There are social workers and staff on the Windham School District who are part of Windham School District who are being trained to carry this work out once the grant is over. So all of that was very reassuring, and there's even a special event, I believe in March, where they have something like social and emotional learning Awareness Day. So I hope to hear about some of the things this year and maybe participate with the students. They have libraries and lots of very positive things. It's I think, a great thing to be adding to our district. Beth Brunet gave a presentation on some of this, let me see, PD sessions that related to the incidents at Barrows, dealing with, let me see, anti-bias training. And there was discussion about how, to what extent there will be some outside workshops or groups running workshops. I do think there is more to discuss, and the board would perhaps should have more information before we pay for 5 years of workshops from an outside group, because I do think this is it's about our community, and there's some wisdom and knowledge in the community. We are a diverse district, so you know, I think we have some of the solutions within here. But it was a very informative talk, and it was also very exhilarating to hear that teachers had requested certain trainings, and it's nice to know that they are part of the PD preparation calendar, or they're able to have some flexibility and get this targeted training. So I hope that wasn't too long.
No, thank you, Mary. And just to be clear for members of the public, PD is referring to professional development. And are there any questions or additions to Mary's report?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Katina.
Yes, I unfortunately was not able to attend that meeting. I did see the report and the PowerPoints. I'm wondering if we have can we get some data regarding the assessments that we are doing with all the students, on how many of the students that is assessed do need services, and how are those students serviced, and the communication between that assessment and data to social workers, psychologists, and the parents. So the program is fantastic, as I could see on the PowerPoints and Mary just explained. Nevertheless, I want to see the applicability of the assessment and the needs of the students, and then how those are being addressed, as well as then the communication, referral, etc. So I wish the person, I think it's Tanya, I don't have the person's of mind to remember her name right now, could come and do a presentation if Dr. Yoko would so agree about.
Katina, you're talking specifically about the DESA assessment?
Yes, about
Okay.
the DESA, because based on the DESA is that the program is being rolled out and implemented. So if that is our assessment to see which and how many needs students have needs, I would like to know how many in each school, and then how does that turn into services to prevent all type of behaviors. Thank you.
Thanks, Katina. I think that we gave the board an update after the initial DESA assessments in the fall. I'll have to go back and look at minutes, but I'm happy to ask Tanya to come and give us an update.
Yes, and more than
So you want more than the numbers, you want the actual picture description of what services are being provided as a result of us gathering this information. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you to the curriculum committee, and now we're going to hear, oh, now she walked away. Yes, because she's dealing with a family matter. Okay, well, can we temporarily jump over the policy and come back? Oh, she's back. Katina, do you want us to postpone talking about policy until you can come back? Okay.
Let me report that we did have a meeting, and it was very efficient.
Katina, before you leave, I have a question about item number 14, policy 2240, educational research in district schools. It doesn't say repeal or change or anything. I'm not sure what can you remind us what we're doing with
I
that
think
one?
Holly can grab the list.
Okay, Holly will grab.
Yes, let me,
Holly's looking at that for you, Katina.
I'm sorry, at the
Holly's looking that up for you because we know you're not sitting at your desk.
district schools,
Educational research in district schools.
yes.
Okay, so we'll wait and see what Holly tells us. Before you ran off, I wanted to see what we were supposed to be doing with that particular policy tonight. Okay, we'll find out later. Thanks, Katina. Anybody else have anything for policy committee report? Okay, I want to thank the policy committee for slogging through all of this. This is a lot, but this is exactly what we needed the policy committee to do, so thank you very much.
Yes, very proud of their work. They're
I want to thank Holly and the team for always being ready, amazingly efficient and effective.
definitely a project for catching up on many, many years of not being on top of it, so.
Holly looks like she may have an answer, yeah. Okay. Okay, so that item number, when we get to it tonight, item number 14 is repeal. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're on to presentation and discussion regarding the accountability index, and
So Mr.
your
Weathers-
team is on.
Mr. Weathers and I are going to lead the discussion, but I just wanted to remind the board members, and I know we have some slides, you have copies in front of you, that we went over the accountability index at the board retreat to sort of give you a sense of that we're working really hard to improve all of the schools' accountability index, and obviously the improvement of the schools' accountability index means the district gets an improvement in their index because it's an average number. So we're just going to review the accountability index, talk to you a little bit about the things we've been doing to keep it as a focus for all of our schools and departments, and show you a couple examples. The data in terms of academics will be presented at the mid-year review. We're still doing our our benchmarks right now, so we don't have any data to share yet, but we soon will have data as well in terms of student achievement. So, Neil, I'll let you take it over.
So the accountability index and why it is important, it is basically our report card. It's a holistic multi-factor view of school and district performance. It was developed by our State Department of Ed in 2015 and approved by the Department of Ed. It really is a response going all the way back to the Elementary and Secondary Act education back in the Johnson administration and the various incarnations of that. It's based on 12 indicators, which is definitely more holistic than it was prior to 2015. Achievement is measured by both proficiency and growth. Those happen to be the first two indicators. And it's used to determine performance categories such as schools of distinction, turnaround and focus schools. And there's some other indicators, how they categorize schools. And we kind of use this as a talking point when we're setting our improvement plans.
Holly?
Oh, there we go. All right. So really the focus of our mini presentation here is how is Windham Public Schools focusing on the accountability index? Well, what we did at the beginning of this year, we met with all of the schools. The data actually doesn't come out to December, but we did a pretty good job of trying to estimate what we thought it would be.
You can toot your own horn on this one.
I was pretty close, like within a couple of points. I was kind of psyched about it.
He's very good at this stuff.
Yeah, nerd alert. But like we tried our best to predict, and then we've made some adjustments when data comes out. So we met with the schools, and what we are looking for is we established like targets for 3 years out, and we actually have a 5-year goal I'll talk about in a minute. And what we were trying to do is get to these pre-pandemic levels, because we know that, it's not a linear thing. It just all of a sudden our kids aren't performing to where they were before the pandemic. So we're trying to get back there and in some cases exceed it. We've used these targets in our school and department improvement plans when we meet with Tracy. All the different departments incorporate these in some fashion or another, or the strategic plan. We more closely are monitoring certain indicators like chronic absenteeism, our physical fitness scores, our course enrollment at the high school, which is actually sort of actually one of our indicator strengths. And then our performance goals could be revised based on actual performance. So like next year, if we overshoot a goal or we are maybe off, we'll adjust those accordingly. We'll look at them each year. And then we're continuing, obviously, achievement and growth for math, ELA, science, and we do growth for the LAS links. Those are continuing as they always have been. LAS is actually a newer measurement, but in the past couple years, but very important. I'm glad it's actually in there. We're continuing to monitor graduation rates and grade 9 pass rates, which I believe is called On Track to Graduation, and that actually influences grade 8. Our middle school, our schools that house grade 8s and grade 9. So in fact, 3 of our schools. And then we have ongoing leadership conversations about this all the time in different fashions. And that's it. All right, just 2 quick examples. So chronic absenteeism, this is our report that comes out weekly. Our data person shares this. This is just the district chart. It just shows, obviously, our chronic absenteeism as of this point in January. We're doing a little better than 2021. You can see we're doing markedly better than we were last year. But obviously, in 20, this is before the lockdown and the pandemic took place, you could see we're not where we used to be. So we improved from the last year, but we obviously want that to be better. So that's where we could potentially adjust our goals. We know that the efforts are being done by the staff. But as we talked about, I think it was even in personnel committee, obviously if someone's sick, we don't want them to come to school, but we're trying to improve these efforts so we have kids getting towards closer to where you saw in 2020. And we're working on that. And then another measurement, the next slide, is this is just an example of a snapshot, and really, this is actually, there's a lot of good news here. This is just a case of me sending an email on Thursday to say, hey, how's our PE data going? And basically, we already have 2 schools that have the highest rates ever, and it's January. They can test the rest of the year. We have 4 schools in the district that already have a higher rate than they did last year. But I'm anticipating all the schools are going to meet their targets. They're doing really well because it's only January. There's a lot of numbers that are extremely high because this is an end-of-year measurement. Just one little quirky thing, because some of you might notice on the chart, North Windham happens to have over 100% participation. It's just the way the thing is measured, because they have 68 kids enrolled, but 71 kids took the test. So kids that leave count towards the measurement, just so you
can't
know,
have
it
more
just,
than 100%.
because that looks
Right.
odd, but it's just how it's calculated. And then at Barrows last year, they shattered the 75% target. So it's looking like we'll have at least 3 schools break 75%, which is the state target, which we haven't had in the past. I purposely, too, knowing that beating last year, outperforming last year is something, but I put in the last column our highest pass rates, just so people could see our maximum, so that we keep that in mind, too. But this was just an example, and then we reach out to the schools. We'll probably check in like 6 weeks again, and then the teachers will either report to Mr. Knopka or the principals and go, oh yeah, we're doing good, we have this. And just one last thing on this neat little chart is in the middle, there's number of students with 3 tests. That's actually really good data. So like the middle school that's already exceeded last year, they have 90 students that are only 1 test away. So that's over like almost 20% of their testing population. So we're hoping some of them make over the hurdle. The PE test, the physical fitness test, used to be given like once in October, but the rules have changed and you can give it anytime, which makes sense. If a kid's really close, you want them to improve. So if they practice, the mile run or the sit-ups, or I'm probably saying the exercise is wrong, but like whatever the curl-ups and such, I would probably be 0 for 4. No, I'd be all right with the run. I'd be 1 for 4. But like they will measure them. But yeah, so that's an example of us just checking in.
And we obviously do the same kinds of check-in on academic performance, but these are just some examples of other indicators that we're watching closely, monitoring closely.
Thanks for clarifying that, because I thought Neil just wanted to pay attention to PE.
No, it's just,
Yeah,
it's one of the indicators, so it gets
No,
us
we're
points
just-
on the.
And we're used to like doing the academic ones, but we want to pay attention to all of them. And our schools and different departments actually have been focusing on them, and we want to give them their due as well. And then just so you know, our current index is 60.4. We actually want to strive for in 26-27 towards 75%. The rationale behind that number was when Dr. Youngberg and myself had a conversation with the state when we were told about the Opportunity District. We're like, well, what number do we need to get off the list? And they were saying they couldn't give an exact number, but they said somewhere in the ballpark of 75%. So we started there, and that's why the targets for each school, sometimes they're different based on school, but they're all built around getting us there over 5 years and not trying to do it in one particular year.
But we'll take it if it happens sooner.
When schools...
Want to make sure that's clear.
Right, like anytime when you set a goal, sometimes we exceed our goals, sometimes maybe we overshot, and we readjust each year as a team, and the leaders are involved in that conversation. And then, and then we have individual, our goals are set to, we're hoping like by this result for this school year we're in or next year, we'll hopefully be back to some of our pre-pandemic goals. That is what we're shooting for. Obviously, we let the data and the work tell us if it's otherwise. Oh, and then I forgot I did this. Sorry.
Chart.
Yeah. So this is just where the district and the school was back in 2018-19 with the index numbers. Obviously, our most recent one in 21-22, we saw decreases, which made sense, particularly chronic absenteeism. You get, when you're over 30%, there's no points allocated, which makes complete sense given what we've been through. And then the upcoming 3 years, those are the adjusted 3. And then I didn't do the year 4 and 5 yet, but our goal is to try to get into the, around, where is it for the district, to try to get to 70% in 3 years, and each school is in different places.
So the principals have all been given targets to strive for and develop their school improvement plans around, and we're monitoring progress, indicators.
Oh, and sorry, so how we monitor for 1 and 2, as you know, and we'll be talking about this next month, we have our benchmark assessments for iReady. Horizons is the high school SAT-aligned assessment. We've been incorporating our interim assessment blocks, which are from the SBAC system for grades 3 to 8. We've been monitoring curriculum implementation and pacing, both in ELA and math specifically, but we've been doing it in other subjects as well. We have our district data team discussions monthly. I think we have one coming up next week. We have school accountability meetings for each school, and we do goal setting and conferencing.
Thank you very much, Neil and Tracy, for putting this together. Does anybody on the board have any comments or questions? Because we are going to be addressing this in more detail in the mid-year reports that we get. But
Right, indicators 1 and 2 are addressed in mid-year
right,
report.
Mary?
Yes, thank you. Just first a question and then a comment. How often do students have physical education class in the district?
So roughly, like
Right.
skipping high school for a minute because that one's trickier, but in K-8 roughly it could be once a week, but it depends on the schedule sometimes at the schools, depending how many teachers are available and what specials they get. But I'm saying roughly once a week, but that's like an estimate depending on like the middle school and Barrow schedules. High school, they're supposed to have a requirement of 1 year of phys ed and health, right? But and even that requirement, there's some caveats to that, I know. But within that requirement, so we're measured on the indicator for grade 10 students. So one of the things that the high school would tell you is a challenge is all the grade 10 students are supposed to be tested, but even if they're taking PE or not. So that can be a challenge. And again, like it depends when they're in PE could affect that. But yes, so that's a general answer depending on availability.
Yeah, because I actually would hope they would have physical education throughout their whole education all year. I think that is a very important part. And I mean, the improvement and, this testing, it's very reassuring, but I have every expectation that they can also do this academically. And, I'm a little disheartened by some of the, numbers. And, I really, hope that, this index we can certainly exceed what we were before the pandemic. And I think, physical education is education, and they are showing that, of course, if you want to try and do that goal again, and you do it, I mean, that's a clear, they really should be encouraged, and I'm happy that they are encouraged to try again and do it. So I think that we do have to emphasize in this district that it's the same with academics. And, I don't know if we need to put our heads together more about how that can come about, but, I have a very high expectation about that.
So just, I completely agree. And we recently just had a conversation saying the same thing. What we're seeing in the phys ed results of that, what you just said about, okay, here's the result, don't give up, keep going, can be applied academically. I completely agree with that statement.
Anything else from anybody online, any of the board members up on the screen? No? Okay. Alicia, anything? Okay, thank you very much. Anything you want to say, Tracy, before we wrap up? Okay.
Nope, the rest will be coming at the mid-year review. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So now we're on to the action items of the agenda, and I see we have Katina back with us. Great, so we easily have a quorum. So we could take action on items A, 1, and 2 together because they both have proposed amendments. And then potentially action on items A3 through A14 maybe, and then 15 have repeal and replace. So repeal and replace is a little different than just straightforward repeal, wouldn't you say? Okay, and then so we'll move from there, but I could entertain a motion if people would like to adopt A1 and A2 together.
So, second.
So moved by Mark, seconded by Mary. Is there any discussion? We were all sent this information in our packets, so I'm assuming if people had questions, they would have raised them. So all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. And then I would entertain a motion on all the policies that we're repealing, which are A3 through A14. Motion made by Katina, made the motion, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion on item A15 to repeal and replace that section. Okay. Brendan, go ahead. You made a motion? Okay. Seconded by Katina. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. And then we have item A16 and maybe 17, both of whom adopt new policies. Do we want to take them together or separately? Okay. Want to make a motion, Mary?
Yes, I move that we take them together to adopt the new policies.
Okay, the motion made by Mary, seconded by Mark. All those in favor, please, any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous, okay. Now we're on to acceptance. Oh, what a hard thing. I'll entertain a motion to accept a $5,000 Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids grant. Motion made by Brendan, seconded by Katina. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's anonymous. Thank you. Anonymous. Unanimous. I'm sorry. Thank you for laughing, or I wouldn't have caught that. And then the final action item I think we can take together, which is action item number C on action items, which is approval of 2 different field trips. One for North Windham School to Roger Williams Zoo, and another for North Windham School to Old Sturbridge Village.
Second.
Motion made by Brendan, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? Mary?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Mary Jo.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say they look very fun, and I'm quite impressed by the forward planning of this because one's in June and one is in April. So commendations to that school.
Mark?
Actually, I found my answer. Thank you.
Okay, you did? So you're satisfied with the answer? Is that enough for you? Okay. So, all those in favor of approving these 2 field trips, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay. They're approved. And so now we're on to public comment. Anybody want to speak during public comment? Hearing or seeing none. I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:51. Brendan? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.